Now, this actually has to be one of my favorite Taiyo chapters, and not just because he was cool. I really like the interaction he had with Shinzo, and like all of the Yozakura family, like they got good personalities. They meld well together, but obviously the most you're gonna see primarily, you're gonna have Mutsumi and Taiyo. So seeing Taiyo interact like with it very heavily, and I think with Shinzo to the point where I think it was way more interesting because it was confined to a one-on-one interaction. It wasn't like they're hanging out and they're talking about like family stuff. It was more about between each other in this scenario that they're in, because Shinzo was able to figure out obviously that Taiyo was there and he was participating in the whole promotion like trial, and he has like a lot of really good lines about how like he pretty much just like, come at me like with the intent to kill, and obviously like he's not gonna try and like outright murder him. My cat's knocking stuff over. Hey guys, I'm doing stuff, but it's the fact that logically, when you look at where Taiyo's at and you look at where Shinzo's at, there's a massive gap. And for Shinzo, like he has to hold back, I would imagine, just in general, because we know he's using those non-lethal rounds. But outside of that, he's probably just doing what he can to damage, not to murder. Because like in reality, there's like a part where he goes in and lands a hit on Taiyo, and if he really wanted to, like in reality, like if he had the full intent to kill, he could have went right for its face and probably blown up his skull. But obviously that's not going to happen. But Taiyo, on the other hand, has to put in the full level of effort, because otherwise, like, he's not going to be able to do anything to close the gap. He has to be putting in every single shred of his capability in order to try and get to the position that he's obviously aiming for. And you saw that especially in the moments where he's like, you have like a momentary flashback where he's like talking to other members of the family of their plan, like to try and help him go against Shinzo, and like talking about how he will essentially like take care of his siblings if they're sick until the point where he gets sick. Like he's very overly doting like that and stuff like that. And if he ends up hurting Taiyo or thinking he hurts him too much, it's gonna like emotionally scar him, and they're like thinking about like just kind of like poisoning him. They get a little bit more aggressive, and I can understand why. Like for them, it's a little bit more kind of like funny because they're siblings. Like, out of everybody in the world, the people that can mess with you the most are siblings. So it makes sense. Even if it's something a little bit more messed up, it's like they have the only leeway in reality. They're the only people that share 100% blood with you. Full siblings, but obviously don't have siblings and stuff still. They're still linked, so it's like it's a different kind of connection. I mean, and I guess in reality, like kind of like accepted family as well, like growing up with somebody even if you're not blood, but you know what I mean. Just that kind of like specific sibling bond gives them a slight little extra leeway to like mess with you, and vice versa. So for them, I definitely give them a pass. It wasn't like if they were just talking about like just some random dude and they were kind of like trying to emotionally damage or poison somebody just to get a one up on them. I'd be like, wow, what are these guys doing? But it's their brother, so like getting a little bit extra, I'm fine with. Nothing too crazy about that. But Taiyo's like saying how he wants to make silver rank fair and square, and he wants to do everything using his own skills. And we did get a good explanation on his sword. I don't know if it was just like so long ago that I don't remember, but they're explaining how the way that his sword works is it's like gathering the energy in the area around him. It's like gathering the ions and creates lightning. And that was one of those things, I don't know, because like if it was something that I just missed in the initial read and I hadn't reread this specific part with it, then it's definitely better, I think, in this scenario, for me at least, because it's done in a very action-paced chapter to where, like, we are focused on Taiyo's skills, and inside, like, right here against Shinzo, like, having a lightning strike, and then just that brief explanation, and having also the long-running set of examples of him using it. I think it might just be a little bit more beneficial than the first instance, because obviously, like, if it was like if these exact words were said at some point way earlier, when like probably when he first got the gun sword, I probably like it went right over my head. But you literally hear this just hammered in. It was a very, very like simplistic explanation for a set scenario that to me at least is going to brand into my brain. And I mentioned that before. So when I finally get something down, like memory wise for series, it's there. It's stuck there. And sometimes it's negative because it like, well, not as much for nowadays. I was gonna say like with some translations, because back when fan translations were way more common, you didn't have nearly as much officials as say like now. You didn't have like the simul release for Shonen Jump and stuff. Like names, like mistranslated names could really like brand into my head, and I couldn't, it make me difficult. It would give me a difficult time to try and get used to like official names and stuff. But just the display between the two of them, I thought was really cool, and I thought that was more of like the meat of the chapter, because like the stuff in the flashback, the stuff between them was cool. But I really like the one-on-one interactions between Taiyo and Shinzo. I think that was way more interesting than the last couple chapters. Those were set up. And after this, like, we have like Futaba and like Kyocho, but like we have, well, for Kyocho, we have way more one-on-one interactions with him and Taiyo. His is still going to be interesting because this will be post, clearly, like, after having, like, Taiyo's clearly grown in him a little bit. It's not like he's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be nice to you forever now. But we have seen that he has developed a level of about appreciation for him, seeing like everything that he's been going through, obviously, and clearly he has like a firm set of like headstrong connection to Musumi, and he's clearly going to protect her and do everything he can for her. And I think that that's been built into a good relationship between the two of them, between Taiyo and Kyocho. But I think with Shinzo, it's way more interesting in this scenario, because also we're seeing a bit of a different side to both of them. Not entirely, but like in this scenario where they're interacting with each other and acting like this. Like this panel here, when he's saying he's going to fight to the death, I thought that just was really cool, because it just made him, it made him look like a badass in a scenario that isn't, like, it's not as intense heavy, but it's going to be more of, you know, that one-on-one display between them. And I think that's going to be really interesting just to have presented. And they both have their blooming on, which is one thing that I didn't expect to be in this, to be so soon. Like with Taiyo, I figured he would use his blooming power because like he's gonna need it. Like he's clearly like obviously not as powerful as Shinzo, but Shinzo's got his stuff going on as well, and he's using his what is it? Yukon. What? So annoying pronouncing some of these names. If I got used to them, but Yukon turmeric, whole like metal, like his whole like free shaping metal. Like dude's running out here like Musica, and he's just got this super malleable weapon that he can just make into anything. And he's just doing his thing, laying in on attacks. And Taiyo has the advantage, I think, in terms of like he's got way more, I would guess, knowledge of what Shinzo is capable of rather than what Taiyo is capable of. Because the thing that Taiyo has as a like an odd advantage on him is the fact that Taiyo doesn't have he just doesn't have all these different kind of like displays of like his large scale moveset, like because he's still developing his fighting style and his different techniques and his different like everything that he can do, whereas Shinzo could easily like make more attacks and stuff, but like I would assume that it's way more down of understanding what he's capable of than like what Taiyo's capable, because Taiyo just got his blooming. He could easily pull out some new combo kind of technique that that Shinzo might not expect. We could get some like insane, like he just super hard, like maybe he hardens and he just does everything he can to gather all the lightning bolt possible, or the lightning possible, and then like channel it right through his body, maybe in like one attack, something really cool like that. We could see like his ultimate finisher move, like something he just brand new develops. And it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, he's not going to like straight beat him 1v1 in a full match, but it's got to be, he's just got to get a touch on him. He's just got to get the requirements for passing the test. And he's got the wild card factor, obviously, of being like way more fresh into the game, way more flexible, and just kind of like displaying what he's capable of. So we'll see about that. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter. Like I said, I did really like Shinzo this chapter as well. I liked him and Taiyo one-on-one. None of the other characters are really getting that involved. We saw the flashbacks, but it's not focused on a large-scale interactions. It's way more set between these two, and I look forward to seeing where this goes in the next chapter. But other than that, comment below. Thumbs up the video, but friend, like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening.